Hello and welcome to episode 288 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is September 1st, 2025. Today I'm wearing my very first Wolkig cowl by Martina Behm. Wolkig is the German word for cloudy, and I think that she chose the name because of the increases and decreases that you knit, you get these, I don't know how to call these folds, this kind of fabric. And it does sort of look like clouds, especially with the yarn that I used for this one, which is an, what's it called? Angora. It's an Angora yarn. It's so soft and light. I absolutely love it. It's a lace weight Angora, and I think I knit 500 meters, which was 50 grams, so it's really light. But it seemed to take forever to knit this, and the pattern is really simple. There used to be, I think it's a free pattern on either knitty.com or her website, I'm not quite sure, but it's also part of one of her books. I think it's the original, the books with her original designs that she called originals. Anyway, the pattern is very simple. It's just one line that you repeat over and over again, and with 4 stitch markers, so very simple to do. But it took me a long time, but I ended up with a really long cowl that I can just wear around my neck the way I was doing it just now. But you can also, if I pull it this way, it's really flexible and it's easy to put your head through, and you can wear it like this. I'm not doing that today because it's a bit too warm for that, but it's extremely flexible and I love it. And then I knit another Wolkig beginning of this year, and I used sock yarn, and I think I used the same needle size, and I think that was a mistake because the second Wolkig that I made is a lot tighter. It's a lot shorter as well. It's only 400 meters, so that might be a reason it's shorter, but it's so much less flexible. And I think that's because I knitted a lot tighter than this one. So the next Wolkig I'm going to knit, no matter what yarn I use, I'll make sure to have a big enough needle to get a really very flexible fabric. The Angora yarn is by Seidenhase.de, and it's a family-run company who have their own Angora rabbits, and they treat them well, and they hand dye the yarn. So it's not cheap, but it's a really good quality, and you know that the animals are really treated well. So that's good. Okay, and the crochet vest that I'm wearing is a crochet rainbow that I crocheted. Oh, by the way, the cowl I knit 3 years ago. I finished it 3 years ago, but the crochet vest I crocheted 10 years ago. And I used the Catania, which is a pure cotton yarn by Wolle. And the vest starts in the middle with this beautiful motif that shows off all the colors that you're going to use. And then you crochet one color after the other, and it's like a proper rainbow, and I love it. But if you look on Ravelry, there's lots of other projects that use different colors, and they're also very beautiful. So there's lots of variation that you can do to get this vest. I put down how many grams I used of every color, so that's quite interesting. And I also wrote down the changes I made from the pattern. I'm not quite sure whether the pattern was from a Simply Crochet magazine. I think it was some kind of magazine, and I think they crochet a collar. So this bit is deeper than the rest of the vest, and I decided to make it a proper circle with just the 2 armholes. And from what I've written, the crab stitch that goes around my vest and around the armholes doesn't seem to have been in the pattern. And I don't really enjoy doing this crab stitch, but I love the look of it, so I tend to crochet it again and again. And yeah, so this is my rainbow vest, and it's a bit like a rainbow, and it's a bit like a mandala as well. And you know that I'm crocheting a mandala blanket at the moment, and one of my new projects or the only new project I have today is also a mandala. So that topic will stay with me for some more time. So much to what I'm wearing. Then on to my finished objects. I have 3 small finished objects. One of them is a finished project, the other 2 aren't. But I'll start with the finished object and finished project, and that's my August gnome. And it's the English name is, let me check. Did I write it down? Gnarley. So this is Gnarley from the Gnomes of the Grimblewoods, and I used a pure merino yarn. It's the same yarn I'm using for my Sylva Slipover. The beard and the nose are knit out of baby alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm, and it's the same yarn I'm using for the blanket that I'm knitting at the moment. And he's a very fairly simple gnome, but I like him a lot. I like the size that I got because I'm using a DK weight yarn. And it's very few colors compared to what I usually knit, but I quite like that as well. And I like that he's a bit different than most of the other gnomes. I like this little cable pattern that he has on his body. It's a fairly simple bottom as well, but a nice one. So if ever he lies down to sleep, that'll look nice too. And I've put all the yarn ends I've collected so far, or that I still had in my shop, they're all in here. So I have to start collecting yarn ends again, so I can put them in one of the future gnomes. I did bring the book. That's a German version of the Gnomes of the Grimblewoods. And this is the original Gnarley, and they are quite similar. So sometimes my gnomes look very different, especially because of the colors. But this time it's they are quite similar, and that's nice too. So that was the first finished object. Then the second finished object, which isn't a finished project, are the little socks for this month's knit along. So last week I showed you the first sock that I knit in preparation for the tutorial video, and then last week I filmed the tutorial video knitting this sock. And the good thing about announcing this tutorial was that people asked me about the bind off, so that was a very good hint. Otherwise I wouldn't have shown it. For the first sock I just did a fairly normal bind off, but that can be too tight to get your heel through. So for a baby sock it probably wouldn't be be difficult. It wouldn't be a problem to get it through. But if you have a grown-up sock, it can be too tight. So for the second sock, I showed Judy's Magic Cast On. I stuck to one way of casting on stitches. And then I showed how to knit the stripes, how to cross your yarns. The little trick I did to not show the color change worked better with the 4 rounds. So here it's almost invisible, but on this sock it's a bit more visible. And also, probably because I was hurrying up so much, this is a bit too tight. So I should have left a bit more yarn when pulling it up to the next stripe. So this isn't quite as clear as it should be. But it's a baby sock, it doesn't matter. Because of the smaller stripes, I ended up doing the first half of the sock in the lighter color and then the second half in the dark color, so opposite to the first sock. That's funny. And then I cast off the stitches with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. So this is really extremely stretchy, and it should be no problem at all to get any heel in there. I finished the tutorial video. My husband hasn't finished it off yet, and I haven't translated it yet. I hope to get it done before I go on holiday. So let's see if that happens this week. So next week there'll be a special video. In 2 weeks' time there will be no video, and then in 3 weeks' time there'll be the next proper episode. So that's the little baby socks. with stripes, different width of stripes, and I'm going to cast on a pair of socks, probably for myself, in 2 different colors with different stripes, and I'll show that. I show those to you when I'm back from my holiday. So that is that, and then the third finished object is another mandala, and the reason for that is that I bought this book, Mix and Match Mandalas by Esther Dijkstra. Not quite sure how to pronounce that. She's also known under the name It's All in a Nutshell. And I've been following her designs for quite some time, and I really like the things that she designs. And a lot of her designs are available for free. And I think you can get those patterns for free as well. But I sometimes like to have things in a book. It's nicer to look at and sometimes easier to work from. And I really like the idea behind this book. And you know, I like crocheting mandalas. I'm crocheting this Mandala Madness blanket. But these are all smaller projects. But the fun idea, the reason it's called Mix and Match, is that she designed 3 little mandalas in the small size. Then she designed 3 different patterns that you can put around the little ones. And then, but each of the extensions work on each of the small mandalas. And then there's 3 different patterns to do the big size, and they all go on the 3 different extensions for the middle size. So you can mix and match all those patterns in the book, and I really like the way they look, and I love the fact that you can just decide which pattern to put on which pattern. And then also, if you start changing the colors, there's just no end of different mandalas that you can crochet with this book. And I like those colors a lot as well. And so I decided to crochet the first mandala from this book. And this is the first one that I crocheted. And I thought, if I probably won't hang it on the wall, and I didn't mention, these are all meant to go in those metal hoops that you crochet them onto, and then you can hang them up. But for that, you really have to get gauge and get the right size. If you're a little off, she gives you hints how you can change the last 2 rounds to make them slightly bigger or slightly smaller. So for the first one, I wasn't really aiming to get gauge or anything. I just wanted to try the pattern and see what size I get. It's a bit too tight. It's a bit too small for the size hoop that it's supposed to go into. But I thought I'll just have it as an ornament like this, or maybe I can use it as a coaster. But then I realized it's rather 3-dimensional. So those petals, the light ones are in front, the darker ones are in the back. So it's rather a 3-dimensional piece, and it's not really perfect to be used as a coaster. But I might sew it onto something just to decorate either a bag or a t-shirt or something. So not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, but I really like it. And I used a pure cotton yarn. And so far I've usually used the Catania by Schachenmeier, but because there was uncertainty about the company, what was going to happen, and whether they were going to continue producing the Catania, I got a new cotton yarn from my wholesale something. So it's where I buy my yarn in bulk so that I then can sell the single balls. And I got the Angora Creativa Fino. And it's basically the same as the Catania. It's 100% cotton yarn. It has 125 meters for 50 grams. And the colors are very similar to the ones by Catania. I think they have not quite as many colors as Catania. And so I just ordered several colors to see how it works up and to try it out. And I'm quite happy. And I think it wouldn't be a problem to mix the Angora Creativa Fino with the Catania. But for this project, I decided to just use the Angora yarn just to get to know it. And I've since then learned that the Catania they will continue to produce Catania. I'm not quite sure whether the name of the company is going to change or stay the same. I don't know. And so maybe I'll continue selling the Catania. Maybe not. I don't know yet. We'll see. But this is the new cotton yarn and I'm really happy with that. Now, on to works in progress. I continued knitting on the sock couple sock. It's the lace line socks pattern by Rini Strout, and I'm using this Opal Rainforest colorway, and I'm combining it with the dark brown. And this sock is started toe up, so I cast on the stitches in the contrast color in the dark brown, but then you start using both colors from the very first round, and you do the toe in a 2-color pattern, and then you knit a simple foot. And I decided to do the color work in the middle of the foot as well. For that, she gives a little, it's like a mini gusset. So there are some increases here and then decreases here. And then on the other side of the sock, I put in a contrast color yarn. It's this neon orange that I put in there. So I'm going to unpick that at some point, and then I can knit the afterthought heel in 2 colors again. And because it's an afterthought heel, I can knit it in the round, and I can do the color work with just looking on the knit stitches, on the knitting side of things. And I can just knit a simple leg now, and then if that's long enough for my taste, there's another bit of color work, and then another bit of simple knitting that's going to be folded inside, and then I will knit the live stitches onto the sock. So I know how to do that. I've done it for other projects. I'm not quite sure I ever did it on socks, so that should be something interesting. I'm looking forward to doing that. But this is all that I have so far, but I'm really happy with how this works up. And then the next project are my wrist warmers. So this is wrist warmer number 6, and it's number 2 with the dark glitter yarn, the black glitter yarn, and I'm using the alpaca silk yarn, not silk, alpaca lace yarn by Hansa Farm. This is a yarn that has 400 meters for 50 grams, and so I'm knitting all 6 wrist warmers out of that 50 grams of yarn. And I brought wrist warmer number 5, so this is the first one with the glitter yarn, and I think it really shows up nicely on camera. And this is the one I'm working on, and I have finished 3 pattern repeats, and 1, 2, 3, and almost finished the 4th one. And I need 6 to get another wrist warmer the same length. So I'm getting there. I'm really happy. So there's only 2 more pattern repeats to do, and then 3 rounds of ribbing, and then I can cast them off. And I'm really looking forward to wearing these whenever I sing in a concert, or whenever I just want my hands to be warm and nice looking. So that's that. The next project is the baby or toddler dress I am knitting, as part of the pattern battle. I just lost my yarn ball, but that's okay. Where's that? Where does that come from? Oh, there we go. So I added 1 pattern repeat or half pattern repeat, so 1 more row of those bubbly things. And I weighed the yarn, and I have exactly 14 grams left. So it takes about 1 gram for each round that I am knitting. So I will start not the ribbing, but the edge, which is knitting garter stitch again, like on those edges. And the pattern says to knit 7 garter ridges, which would be 14 rounds in garter stitch. So with 14 grams, it could almost work, but because I need a bit more yarn to cast off, I will probably only do 6 garter ridges, unless I have more left than I think, because it wasn't exactly 1 gram per round. So if it was slightly less, I might be able to do the 7 ridges, and if not, it'll be 6 or 5. We'll see. I just keep an eye on the yarn that I have left, and I'm really looking forward to finishing this. That's that. Then the other clothes I'm knitting, I continue knitting on the Sylva Slipover vest. And I just finished one ball of yarn, so I don't have to pay attention to that. And I can show you the vest and the gnome next to each other. So it's a different cable pattern in the gnome than in the vest, but I still think they look nice together and very related. And as you can see, I finished the second ribbing in the second armhole. So the top part is completely finished, and then I knit and knit and knit and knit. And I knit quite a bit last week because the pattern is going to be released next week, and she wants the testers to be done beforehand so that we can give the feedback on the size and the yardage that we knit up and everything. So I have to finish this vest this week. I won't be able to show it to you until in 3 weeks' time, but it doesn't matter. I will finish it in time so I can give my feedback. And right now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it. It's a fairly tight fit. It's not, doesn't hang loosely, but I like it too much, so I'll probably keep it. And maybe I can wear it in the next episode, because usually I would like to show it to you finished and then the next time washed and blocked, but you just have to imagine this was all done. I only need like 1/2 of this repeat, and then there'll be some ribbing on the bottom. And yeah, but this, I'm pretty sure that this will change the way it looks after it's been washed and blocked. I'm not going to pull it apart a lot. I'll just lay it flat so everything is nice and smooth. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And yeah, maybe I'm going to wear it in the next episode. We'll see. So that is that. And then the other garment I'm knitting for myself is the Sommertop that I'm knitting out of the 100 Farbspiel color gradient yarn. And I finished the next stripe, I've knit to the next color change. So this is going to be the inside and this is going to be the outside. And you can see that this stripe is finished, and you can't really see the color change yet. But as soon as I knit a few more rounds, you can notice that this is going to be even lighter. And this is, oopsie. So this is the colorway that I'm knitting now. And then at some point it's going to get darker again because there'll be a darker blue. So it started off with this darker greenish color, and then it's going to go to this beautiful blue color. Okay, and that already brings me to the blanket. So there's quite a few projects that I didn't knit on, and one of the reasons is that last Friday when I packed my things, I just forgot to pack some of the projects, so I didn't have them at home to work on them. But that's okay, so some of the other projects got more attention. So for the Starflower blanket that I'm knitting out of Alpaka DK weight yarn by Hansa Farm, I put these pieces all together and I washed and blocked the blanket. So just to remind you, and then I think last week I was knitting on one of those light grey motifs, and then the next color that I packed is this light pink color. And then I forgot to bring another color, so I knit another light grey one, because I will have to use several colors several times to get the blanket to be big enough. But before I put in the same color into the blanket, I will finish putting all the other colors that I haven't used yet into it. But there aren't a lot of colors left that I haven't knit yet, so it doesn't matter that I have two the same already. I will be repeating colors a lot more in the future. This is the same color, the same motif from both sides. Maybe I should show that on this blanket. So because both sides really look nice. So this is supposed to be the right side, but if you look at that side, it's quite nice too. I do weave in my ends on this side. So if you look closely, you might find some ends, but I don't think that's too bad. And but if you happen to fold the blanket over or use it the wrong way around, which is something my husband does all the time, it won't look bad. And the other blanket, I finished part 11, I think, of the pattern. So the pattern's broken down into 18 parts because it used to be a mystery crochet along, and I finished part 11. And last week, I think I said that after this, I would be done with purple and the light purple, but that was nonsense. So the next part 12 of the pattern, is going to use the same 3 colors again that I used here. So I'm far from done with these colors. So last week I crocheted the dark purple and the light blue. Those were 3 fairly simple rounds, nothing special happening, except for those longer single crochets here and here, but that wasn't very complicated. It really helped with counting the stitches. And then we had, I had some more tall purple stitches here. But apart from that, it was 3 fairly simple rounds. And this is what the blanket looks like at the moment. It's really difficult to get the whole blanket in. And again, I'll show you the wrong side because that's nice too. And I just love all the different colors and all the different stitches and patterns. And yeah, that's a lot of fun. And that brings me to the sock knit along that I started for last month, where I filmed a tutorial on how to put beads into your knitting. And because I'm doing sock knit-alongs this year, I am knitting socks with beads in them, and I finished the first one. So I had already shown you the beginning with the beads and then how I fold this over. I did a really simple short row heel and then just a plain foot with some ribbing on the top and stockinette on the sole, and then my favorite star toe. And yeah, really happy with that came out and it fits. And of course I had to start the second sock. And by the way, this is also from the company 100 Farbspiele. It doesn't change its color, so it's the same 4 colors that you have throughout the sock, but because it's not plied, it ends up showing different colors, which makes this sock so really colorful. And I find knitting the sock really interesting because I have to watch my stitches because it's not plied. You have to make sure you always grab all 4 strands of yarn. But because the color I'm looking at keeps changing, I really enjoy it. So I strung the beads onto the yarn to put them into the cast on, the same as with the first sock. Then I did 3 rounds of ribbing and 2 rounds of stockinette stitch, and now I will start putting in beads. But I decided to do it in a different way than with the first one because they are rather bunched together. And even though I liked the pattern when I drew it on paper, I wasn't too convinced with it in the sock. So I've drawn a different pattern now, just sort of putting the beads into onto the stitches, just making sure to have some distance between the beads. And but I'm going to use the same number of beads and the same number of rounds, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out. Yeah, so that's everything that I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!